everybody.
Welcome to the Spice of Life. This is
Yes.
Chris.
And I'm Angela. Ha ha ha.
How you doing today, Angela?
I'm doing pretty good. That day started off pretty good today. No complaints, but there's some things that I realized about myself that I gotta work on.
Oh.
But all in all, today is pretty good.
You know what? I didn't expect you to say that.
I know.
Wow.
I kind of threw you off a little
No,
bit.
I've never. I don't
but
think
those
I
a
ever
little
heard
bit-
you say that before.
There's a little bit of topics. Well, I work on myself, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. So, speaking of topics and good and bad and all that, I think what we were going to do, because it's like one of those things we just decide before we go on, is what's relevant to us or our life or whatever. And so, how we still try to communicate when we're upset, how people
Exactly.
people in general, something to think about, but especially in relationships, because the reason why I think that's a big thing or more important or more key is because usually the emotions are a little higher because you're talking about people you love. So.
It is, and that was something that I said I need to work on. That was one of the things, that I need to, because it is a difficult thing trying to relay a response back to someone when you're upset. When you're upset, it is very difficult to just communicate in a normal tone of voice. It is difficult to communicate because you can't think straight. That's why it's the power in being mild, is being so that you have a level head when you're talking, and you can remember or think of ways or to progress in the communication.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, when I'm upset, you're just thinking about your feelings, your emotions. So that is difficult to do. So really, can you communicate when you're upset?
You definitely can.
Is it even possible?
But it's 100% it's 100% possible to do it.
Okay.
But what's said, is it in the best interest? Like, so you can start breaking down good communication versus bad communication. So there's no doubt when you're upset, you can. It's an empirical fact.
Communicate, but can you communicate in a positive way? Will it? You know what I'm saying? How
can you do it well?
Yeah.
Can you do it what both parties would agree as well?
Yeah.
Not what I agree as well. Like,
yeah.
I can tell you, oh man, I think I articulate, and I probably did articulate it well. But what was the tone? What was the content? Was I blunt? Was I kid gloves about it? All those things. How did I? And then here's the biggest thing for me, and you probably being honest about how you feel about it, at least with yourself. Sometimes it's not good to sit there and say, I'm mad at you.
Yeah.
But at least be real, like, okay, inside, be like, I can't be saying I'm not mad or upset when I am to myself, at least,
And also, how do the other person respond to that when you say that?
Well, because it's a double factor, and this is for either person. Two things you got to keep in mind. You're talking to someone, and here's the thing. You're upset. What you're saying probably is not going down well with that person, and you probably better believe they're upset too.
Mm-hmm.
So all those factors have to be weighed. And here's usually what we weigh as humans, because we think about ourselves. I usually just weigh me being upset.
Yeah, you're not thinking about nobody else and how they're feeling. You're caring about how you feeling and how it made you feel. Right now you're upset, and that's the number one thing. That's priority. You're upset, and it needs to be addressed right now.
So in my opinion, the biggest key factor of all of it is each person knowing themselves well enough to, this is what I think would be good, is being able to if you really, really like in a quandary with your feelings, like quandary, $5 word. Mm-hmm. If you really kind of like in your feelings, but you, first of all, you got to believe, like, I'm tripping, I'm upset. Then be able to say nicely to a person, hey, how about, you know what? We're cool and everything, but how about we just give it some time? Mm-hmm. If you really upset, that's the best way to do it. Not say, we need to talk later. Or I talk to you, no, I don't feel like talking right now. All those are not going to make it better later either. All
Yeah.
those are actually going to leave that situation way worse than what it was in the moment before I said that. So I have to think about more like, yeah, you're. First of all, I might even admit, yeah, I'm not in a blessed place mentally either, and I know you're upset. Brother, you admit it, and I know you're upset, whatever. Let's give it some time, like that. The best way I can do
Now,
it without being upset.
that is a good way to put it in a more low, low toned way, but not in an upset way. Say, hey, let's get back
Because
on
the
this later.
because what's the end result? You either resolve it, at least whatever that, agree to disagree, whatever, is peace with that. Not if I so let's say for instance it was a big something big with you, Angela,
Uh huh.
and I'm good, so I'll be like, all right, well, you ain't gotta talk about it no more. See ya. But you still
Yeah.
sitting there, flames coming out of you.
Hmm.
That's not fair to you. So I have to
No,
I have
it's
to
not
weigh,
fair.
both parties have to weigh, not just themselves in that matter, but be like, I promise we can talk about it later, but I gotta be honest. It may not seem like, but I'm not in a good place, and so I think it is important. I don't want to disregard your feelings at all,
Yes.
but let's just give it a little bit of time. And I promise you, I think with the help,
So
so
imagine
with
being
God's help,
upset and imagine saying it. How can you
so
calm? You have to calm yourself down to say it that way, that way, because even when you're thinking in the moment and you're upset, you say, "Well, I can't do this right now. I can't talk
right.
about this right now." You got to calm yourself down to be like, "Hey, we need to talk later." Or you got to calm yourself down to even say it in a very nice way.
Say it in a way where you're trying to work with the person. I'm not gonna say, I'm sure I've done it many times, but it's not in my best to say to demand something of Angela, demand something of the person I'm having to. Hey, I ain't talking to you right now. We gonna talk later. I do not want to talk to you. We need to talk later, but that's a fact. But you got to figure out how can I say it where this is not gonna even. I'm not gonna leave it even worse or even more upset, or where the person like, I ain't even gonna talk to none of you later because this is how you just talk to me. So I have to figure out how can I say this, and also when it's being said to me, accept that we have, hey, what you think about us talking later? But usually when we both emotional, we don't think that clearly. I know I don't. I don't think that clearly to say it that nicely and all that. Um, Even though I think I do. I think in my head I'm saying it nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you about today. Well, at some point today, I was a little upset with Christopher because I didn't think that he was considering me and some decision that he was making off the whim. So I was a little upset by it, and I'm like, and everything that he said, he had like, oh, it's okay, everything is okay, all right, it's all right, it's gonna be all right. I'm like, hey, wait, we need to talk. Everything's not all right. We need to have a discussion. It's gonna be okay. We can. I'm like, okay, we need to talk, and plus, we need to discuss this so this won't happen again. So I think that he was, and to me, I'm like, okay, let's talk about this so that, like I said, that this won't happen again. And secondly, you can see what I'm talking about. You understand why I feel this way, or why I didn't want this to go down the way that you didn't come to me about this. So let me tell you why I didn't want it to go down the way it want the way it waited the way that you were trying to go let it go down this way. So basically he saw it for how I saw it and he apologized. It could have went a different way and we could have been, mad at each other all day about it. And you could have been something, and it's something that wasn't a huge thing. One of those small things could have went up here when it stayed on its level. But at the same time, when you're talking about somebody's feelings or considering somebody else's decision or emotions about something, it could go deeper than that. Where someone could say, okay, why aren't you considering what I'm saying? So it's like how to communicate when upset. How did we do that? By just giving it a little time to, or not immediately. Like in the moment when Christopher did that, I was like, okay, Even though I got upset, I'm like, okay, he meant well by that. I did it didn't my little, we called it, little flame didn't go, it was a little steady. The little flame held steady. He meant well. His heart's in the right place, but and then I'm like, okay, I do need to say a little bit of something to him, and I did. It almost went up, but then he said something to make it go, a little bit down, because I know that he was trying his best, and then he did apologize. So apologies help too. When it's how to communicate when upset. When you're apologizing and seeing it from the other person's point of view. I think Christopher at some point did that, and it helped.
Yeah. I think also too, definitely trying to the best we can to look at it from every angle helps, and that's hard for people to do. On in that situation, see, I can tell you, even that situation, she's right about pretty much everything she said. But even in that situation, my mind was still thinking differently. In my mind, I said, well, whatever happened, it didn't follow through. I started off, and because I didn't think something through, I made an error like any other human being. But it never was a thing that came to fruition, because I was able to overt it, or change the situation. But even after I did that and apologized, I just felt like it didn't matter. So I kind of got bothered by that part, not the fact of the issue. The issue was legit. I respected it. I saw it once I came around the other side. I was like, oh, I see it. And I understood why the person felt the way they did in that moment. But that comes back to something she said. Even though I can't change that, I felt a little irritated about how it was being handled after I did my best to not only avert it, but did apologize. I still felt like she was upset. And now I started to get upset.
So,
And so I,
oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Now I was going to say Christopher kind of felt that way because when you're upset, especially for me, I'm not going to go back to normal like right away. It's going to take me a little time to kind of get back. So that's what he is, saying, that he didn't think that it didn't mean anything or whatever. It didn't work, but it did. But I'm not going to go back to, oh, everything's back. Oh yeah, let's
And I don't
let's
expect that.
sing rainbows and
Right. No, I didn't.
unicorns or whatever. It just takes a little minute. Just because of how I am as a me, nature, whatever, my emotions and how it is. It doesn't just flick like this. You know, things are cool, but just let me get time. Let me get my time to kind of get back to normal, because I was a little upset by it and I was holding a lot of it in. So basically that's what he's saying, is it didn't matter. It did matter. But he has to respect the fact that it does takes a minute for me to kind of simmer down and get myself adjusted. I keep hitting my mic. You get adjusted. So yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so like you said, it's things that can be worked on. But in that whole scenario, it was no time that I thought, Angela was being unreasonable or anything. It'd just be nice if it would, like she said, it could be nice if we can be a little cooler with each other when we make mistakes, and how we deal with them. Because we got to think about how we want somebody to deal with us. If she makes a mistake, she definitely gonna want me to be cool about it, or forgive, or we apologize, whatever, and not continue to act different from what I just said. No, I didn't want. I get what you're saying. I definitely didn't. I expect you to blow out confetti and and have one of
Unicorns.
those,
Yes.
celebrated it.
You're back.
But you know, and I've been, we've been married long enough. I'm kind of used to sometimes that time. But it comes back to something else we was talking, just literally talking about. Even when it's one of those we talk later, it don't now like that's not a thing where we need to talk later. But it
Right.
could be more like, you know what, I appreciate it. Give me a minute. I'm just still this is fresh.
Yeah.
Something like that versus feeling like It's a good day. It's still a beautiful day. And she's right. One thing I think I know about me, I figured out about me, and she's told me about me, is that I definitely can try to move on for something quicker. Whether I did it or she did it. I try to move on from it quick. If Angela make a mistake, you know, once she like a cool, as long as I know she like, hey, I'm really sorry, not like sorry, and then I'm gonna get something later, kind of
Mm-hmm.
communication. As long as I'm say, hey, I'm cool, we sorry, hey, that was my on me, I'm good after that. I'm good, we good, kumbaya, whatever. Um, and I can move on, but I don't know if it's a guy thing or just a me thing, or I don't know what it is, but I think because I don't want my whole day to be taken up being upset.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably what it is. Days don't, they're only 24 hours in a day, and we only awake for a little bit of within that 24.
That is true. So, question for I guess the question is, how do you communicate when you are upset? I know we did mention some stuff, but if you think about being in the moment and being just upset and just mad, the only thing that I know for me personally, is for me to kind of say, give me one moment to kind of get myself, let me think about, let me process this. Let me tone it down a little bit. Let me not be.
You never told me that before.
I mean, I'm just saying. I'm
Oh,
talking this through.
oh.
Yeah, he said.
Never said
He
none of
said you
that.
didn't tell me that before. Yeah,
Because I
because
would understand better if you said that.
hold up. Let me get myself together. I'm getting upset.
Hold up,
Let
wait a
me.
minute.
Yeah. You never said it to me either.
Yeah, I was like, oh
So
well, because I move on real quick.
yeah.
That's why I
So
don't say
so
it. I don't
basically,
have to.
you have to just be like, let me get myself together before I respond to this.
Right,
You know, you have to immediately, before
and
you
that
even say anything, you have to do that. But how to communicate when upset? To me, you said you could, but for me, it's hard for me to communicate in a positive way
that
when I'm
comes back to
upset.
knowing yourself. No, being honest with that's now that's if people out there are honest, and I'm being honest, and I hope I know you'll be honest. We don't always sit there and whether someone has done some transgression or something against us or we've done against them, we sometimes don't have the time in the moment, which we should, is to do snapshots of our own self and how to not only handle when something's done wrong with us or somebody's. I just had an example of something happened where the person, we was in a conversation, I didn't even get that mad about it, but they was telling me about an incident as though it was facts, and they were wrong. This time, the date, the people, they said it wasn't wrong. I went and verified it with somebody. Like, I know I'm crazy sometimes, but I remember this situation, and they was trying to tell me this didn't
Hmm.
happen. That right there, I had to do my self examination. I said, is it worth calling this person and telling them how wrong they are
Yeah.
and going through and getting the witnesses and getting the people? It wasn't. So that was able to be even averted, and I was able to, hey, we cool. In fact, I spoke to them the next day. Everything was cool. I didn't even bring it up. That they still to this moment believe whatever they said to be a fact, even though it's 100% not accurate.
Hmm.
But I'm cool with that because I did a check on myself and said it ain't even worth it to keep talking about. That makes sense.
That does make
Yeah.
sense. And
And
one.
when I say it's not cool to even talk about, I'm saying I'm cool with the person. I like them. I love them. In fact, they good with me, and I can move on without ever bringing it back up again.
Yeah. So, yeah, the best for me is just to wait to communicate. Oh, that rhymes. Wait to communicate.
So I don't play a hate. Um,
So basically, that's how I have to. But sometimes people want to force the communication. We want to talk now. No, I want to talk about this right
and
now.
then if I wait too long, you ain't say nothing to me.
I
I
have
don't feel
to
like talking.
be I have to be honest with myself. Even if that person wants to talk right now, I have to say no, not right now. And then say, what about tomorrow? I will call you tomorrow, or I will get with you tomorrow, or I will, hey, let's get together. Or if it's Christopher, I will be like, let's get together, you know,
I'll be like,
in a
let's
couple
go on a
hours.
date
Give
and
me a
talk
couple
about it.
hours. But if it's somebody else that's not in the household, I'll have to set a date and time to just get back with them, because to me it's not worth it. It's not worth talking in a moment when you're upset. So yeah, how to communicate with upset?
Like this. So let me say, this is no, I have done this.
Hey, I don't know.
I very rarely do I sit there and say, hey, let's talk later. But once in a while I do. I'll say, hey, we'll talk about it later. Or you talking, because in her brain, she's okay with it usually because she don't even realize how like upset I'm about it. I mastered because I didn't used to. I do a pretty good now that I'm older. I do a really good job of not showing how upset I am about something. And then it's so funny. Sometimes when I'm not about this, is I'm jumping strange the subject, but sometimes I'm truly not upset about it, and you think I'm upset. That's funny to me. Sometimes I'm like, and I be having to try to prove to you, I am not. I promise you, I'm not upset. I'm not bothered. We cool. But I don't know. Maybe I make a face or something.
Yes, he does. He make faces, his body language, and his tone of voice does not is not the evidence that he's okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. But one thing too that I want to bring out is the fact that when you are communicating, there is upset, but this is one caveat is when the other party is not upset. I could be mad. I could be upset, or Chris could be mad or upset. But if one of us is not, and we're able to calm down and be like, okay, able to apologize and keep it, then that other person's able to bring it down too. Because one person can't sit there and continue to be upset. I can't do that.
I
So
definitely can't unless I'm being
the
attacked.
fire keeps rolling when there's two fires.
Right.
So it can't be with one light.
Now, that's a master. That's a master communicator because in a relationship of a man or a woman, first of all, like you said, most time they can stay cool, and then
Yeah.
even if one or the other is saying little stuff that would have normally hurt any other human being's feelings, and they still like, but not they looking at it, they staying on the outside of it, even if they talking about them. That's a good communicator. If you got a person that can be a third person, even though they're one of the two,
Yes.
that is a good. And there's people like that. I know for a fact they're human. Like, and those people, I would say, probably work things out, but don't have as tough as road in some of their relationships.
That's
That's
true.
an art to me. That's a
That
gift,
is an art. That is a
and I want to
gift.
learn how to do that gift.
Those are called peacemakers.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's more of the higher qualities of wisdom, patience, even humility. You gotta be humble to take the verbal things people say and still be in a loving way to say, I want to work this out, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna take what that person just said to me personally. I wanna do what I can to help this person, even though they're saying stuff that I may not like or may not even agree with. I want them to be happy. I want them to be cool. So I'm not. I'm just gonna try to see what we can do to work this out.
Mm-hmm.
That's patience, love, humility, maturity, wisdom. That's at a high level because we all
Yes,
got them. But if you got all those at a high level, you're gonna work out all 99.9% of your communication issues.
that's so true. But that is something to think about when you want to communicate you want to stop the going back and forth. One person got to be the level-headed person to kind of bring it down and be like, okay, we can't keep this going.
And well, usually I think, and I'm just gonna speak as a guy. Like usually, what can cause a person not to go ahead and take that route, which is the best route to go,
Hmm.
of course, it's emotion, but it's also like, I ain't no punk. I ain't gonna let them talk to me like that. You say that about me. That's not true. I don't. If they can take their ego out of it, like if I could take my pride and ego out of that situation, and stay calm, then I won't have as many. I won't let my own self get in the way. I can't answer for everything the other human says, but I definitely can get in my own way just by how I emotionally react to a conversation. And I'm not able to be that third person again now. Now
That's
it's all
true.
messed up.
But you got to be a person that works on that. You got to recognize that about yourself, but you got to have a habit of where you are recognizing that even in the moment. You know what? Let me back off from that. I this is going too far. Let me not get too upset about this. So yeah, I totally agree with that. So yeah, it's possible, but it's hard. So what we want to do is make sure that we're not taking it to a level of where, sometimes they go to a level where you like some people have gone way too far in a communication where they really being hurtful, where they really trying to hurt somebody's feelings, and they saying some things that it's hard to bring back because they've hurt, they've hurt the other person. So that's something that's hard to do, especially when both of the parties are saying stuff to each other that's very hurtful.
I want to mention something before we
Okay.
go that think, and
Sure.
that's good. But this is something to think about because remember we were just talking about. Imagine if both parties are able to always be reasonable and have high levels of
Yeah.
wisdom, patience, all that. And it talked about first marriage and second marriages. So 40 to 50% of marriages, first marriages, end in divorce, which is very bad. This is in America. That's terrible statistics, and you hope those improve at some point because it's actually gotten worse over time. So then later on in life, I guess it'll be 50 to 60. But anyway, let's say for instance they talking about second marriages, theirs are even worse, 60 to 67%. So what is that telling you? That if each individual really work on some of the things that, like you was talking about, each person work on those. It's not about, oh, let me try again. It's not me. It's not even me. It's not her. It's all of us. It's people in general that both parties got to be willing to put in the work. That's the bottom line.
That's true.
And once we put in the work to say, hey, life, the day is too short for this, or let me be more patient and understand with my wife, and I'm just speaking from my point of view and try to just, impress that importance of patience and humility, then all this wouldn't even be a problem. And then it wouldn't even get worse on the second go around. That's period, by the way. That's not, brother, no matter who you are, it's period. This is how it is. So that tell you something.
That is so true. That is so true. So we watch those triggers. I would call them triggers. Personally, then
It's a win-win.
yeah.
You can't lose if that application is made. So if everybody, okay, if there's some people out there that have mental challenges, yep. But then I would say go get, because we're not professionals, go get you some mental
I didn't
help.
even think about that. So that could be something that could definitely affect that. Because sometimes with people, if you have some mental challenge, that could be difficult too.
And it's a good thing that people are addressing that more in life. But I think still, even now, guys, not to be that guy, but the guys struggle with accepting that more than females. Like guys have to accept, like, but I got problems.
Yeah, but still, there has to be a way that you recognize that and knowing what your weaknesses
be man
are,
enough.
and what
don't make you weak not to acknowledge it as a man.
Right. Knowing what you can do to kind of manage that. So yeah.
Totally agree. Well, you added some spice to my life.
Spice. Oh, life.
Thank you, guys. See you again. Chris and Angela, Spice of Life.
Thank you. Bye-bye.